So, last week I told you a story. You remember the story I told you last week about the princess on the side of the road? Okay, tonight I'm going to tell you a different story that I've said years past, but it's not where I'm going to start, but it's very important. That story is like the story of Pesach, and I think that it's a story that a lot of girls here don't know, and I don't know if this story was ever on Torah any time. So we're going to say that till the end of this year. We're going to talk about this week's Pasha for a drop, and we're going to talk about Pesach. And I just want to thank everyone. I have in my car about, I don't know, it must be 200 emails that I haven't read yet because I was in California, I just got back today. All about Hakar Satov. So it seems to be, and a lot of girls have written me that will help you with the project, will write for you, whatever you need. So it seems to be that the Hakar Satov project, Jemez Hashem, I have a very big meeting next week. I had a meeting this week. Is going to really take off, Jemez Hashem, and I think it's a game changer. I think it's going to change Klal Yisrael, and in turn change the world. If you have a Hakar Satov, you have a good relationship with God, you have a good relationship with your kids, you have a good relationship with yourself, and you have a good relationship with your parents. So we're going to work on that very, very hard. In this week's Pasha is Vayikra. Now women don't get a chance to see the Sefer Torah, the Ksav actually in the Sefer Torah, but being that I'm a Kohen and I get the first Aliyah, I get a chance to see the first word, which is Vayikra. Vayikra has a teeny little aleph. It's Vav, Yud, Kof, Reish, and that doesn't have a regular aleph. A teeny little aleph. Very specific little aleph. Now, it says that when, so why is that? Because Vayidaber, Vayomer is not a friend relationship. In other words, I speak to you, I said to you. Vayikra means to call. You don't call someone you don't know. You call your friend, right? Chaim, get over here. You don't call someone you don't know. Hey, you come here, and you don't talk like that. So Hashem wanted to show His love for Moshe Rabbeinu. So in His Torah, He wanted to write Vayikra el Moshe, and Hashem called to Moshe, and they had that relationship. But Moshe Rabbeinu said to Hashem, "It's belittling to you, God, and it makes me like about Gaiva. God's my friend. God's talking to me on that level." So he begged Hashem that he shouldn't put a big aleph. It should be a teeny little aleph, because Moshe Rabbeinu is a very big aleph. That's what the Mefarshim say. And if you look in the Chumash, you'll see that the aleph in Vayikra is really very, very small. It says that when Moshe Rabbeinu came down from Har Sinai, that his face was so lit up that the Jews could not look at it. So he wore a masveh. He wore a mask. And when he spoke to them, he wore that mask because they could not look at his face when he spoke to them. So the Mefarshim say, where did this light come from? That after he finished writing the Torah in Shemayim, there was some ink left on his fingers. And he rubbed it on his forehead. And that ink, which was the ink from Hashem, had that aura, had that light. And that was the light that nobody could look at. So the Mefarshim is such an unbelievable lesson. So the rabbis ask a question. What do you mean he had ink on his forehead? We know that God is exact. He knew exactly how much ink would be needed in the Sefer Torah. So it says, from the extra ink, he rubbed it on his head, and that's why it lit up. There's no extra ink. God is exact. He knew exactly how much ink was needed to write the Torah. What do you mean extra ink? There was no ink left over. So, what does that mean that there was extra ink? So the Mefarshim say beautiful. The Mefarshim say that where did the extra ink come from? When Hashem planned to write the Torah, He was writing Vayikra with a big aleph. But Moshe Rabbeinu said to Hashem, "No, I don't want you to do that. It makes me look like a big shot. I want you to make a small aleph." So when Hashem went to write the Torah, the measurement of the ink was for a big aleph. So the difference between the small aleph and the big aleph, there was a drop of ink. And that was the ink that he put on his forehead. So the ink that, because he was an anav, because he was modest, and he wanted it to be small, ended up being the ink that gave him the true light. Says the Mepharshim that the true light a person gets when he's modest. This is continuing from last week. But when a person is a big shot, when a person is a Baal Gaiva, and he's not a keli, he's not a vessel for holiness. So yes, it was exactly how it was supposed to be written. Now you could ask me a question, girls always ask me this question, but didn't Hashem know that he was going to say that he doesn't want a big aleph, so then there shouldn't have been a big aleph? No, there had to be enough ink that if he didn't say it, because everyone has bechira, that it would be able, if Hashem would have only used would have left only exactly a little ink, then he wouldn't be able to write the big letter. So a person still has bechira in the end. So from modesty comes holiness. And we spoke about this last week. I am so mixed up. I've spoken so many times in the last 2 weeks. I don't know what I told you. I know I told the girls in Muncie, the girls in California, the seminary, my high school. So if I'm repeating something that I said, just let me know. Today in seminary, I sat down. I said, girls, I must tell you a story. I started it, and the girls are like, you said that last week. So I was like, oh my, okay, page number 3, you know. So anyway, so I do think that we spoke last week about that a person can't have hakaras hatov and a person can't have a relationship if they're a Baal Gaiva. If a person is a big shot and a person is a Baal Gaiva, they can't have a relationship. Down syndrome children, if you've ever dealt with them or ever spoken to them, you would know that there's no Gaiva by them at all, ever. Ever. There's never, oh, he's a big shot. They're not, that's not their, they don't have that. There's 2 stories about Down syndrome children. One of them I said before, one I've never said before, that I would like to share with you. There's a thing called the Special Olympics. The Special Olympics, we all know. Now, why do they call it the Special Olympics? So, we all know the Olympics, it's created by the Greeks. And what do they stand for? They stand for competition with one winner. You have 30 people running, gymnastics, whatever they're doing, skiing, depending which summer or winter, swimming, and all these people have trained their whole life. I remember that little girl when I was growing up, the famous girl from Romania, this little teeny, she won a lot of gold medals, and they did an interview with her, and she was trained in a barn in Romania, in the ice cold, freezing cold, when all her friends were having a good time. She was training, I think, from when she was 4 or 6. And Nebuch, the poor kid, she won a lot, but on the crossbars or whatever it was, when she landed, she took a half a step back and lost a certain amount of points and didn't win the gold. And I remember they showed a picture of her crying. She had a tall Romanian coach, very famous coach, and she was mamish sitting, she was crying away because she trained so hard and she made one misstep. Have a good day. Now the Olympics are a very big thing, and people spend millions, billions of dollars on the Olympics, and everybody's watching the Olympics. It is totally Yavan. It is totally Keneged the Jewish nation. Because the world that we live in, which is Yavan, which has a lot of things in it that came from Greece, is a world of competition. Winner gets all, loser gets nothing. So in the old days, the coaches used to say, it's not whether you win or lose, it's how you play the game. Play it fair, try your hardest. Today, the coaches say, it's not whether you win or lose, it's whether you win. There's no place in America, in business, in sports, in shidduchim, in school, in anything that we do, including our schools, there's no place for someone who's not a winner.
Sure.
You have to have that A, you have to hold that A, you have to be the top of the class, you have to be the #1 girl if you want a shidduch, you have to be the #1 kid in sports to get chosen in. How many kids in school are broken just because kids don't let them play? And we're not even watching that. When a child's told by his friends, you're not good enough to play, I just was in California and I dealt with a boy that is totally broken. He's a little teeny boy. He's 9 years old. And what broke him is that for the last 2 years he has no friends. He's not a good ball player. So he's not one of the boys. So he doesn't get invited to play basketball. He doesn't get invited over to play hockey. And he's a tzibruch in a kid. So why is he a tzibruch in a kid? Because in our world, the world that we live in, and we're part of this, I hate to say, that it's all about how beautiful you are and how rich you are and how smart you are and how you do in school, and that's how a person is judged. A person is not judged by their abilities, by their love, by their emotions, by who they are inside. It doesn't make a difference who you are inside. You got an aleph in your report card, you're good. You got a dollar in your report card, you're no good. We'll give you a pill, we'll give you this, we'll give you that. There's something wrong with you, you're sick, you're that, you're who knows what. They'll drug you up. The kid will he was bouncing off the walls, now he's not bouncing. There's Rabbi Ginsburg that speaking happens to be, even if you're not a teacher, you 100% should join his class. I have never in my life heard somebody that has such knowledge of relationships to children. And how did I find him? I'll tell you how I found him. So he used to write in the Yated, in the round table. The round table is you ask a question, and there's 10 rabbis that give answers. I don't read much on Shabbos. I try to learn to prepare. One week I opened the Yated in the round table, and there's an article. Now I think he writes in the Hamodia. But anyway, there's an article written by him. And he says this is a true story. And it's an article about a little boy. I think he was in 5th grade or whatever grade he was. This kid was bouncing off the walls. He couldn't sit still. He was bouncing off the walls. And the whole class was disturbed. And the Rebbe, he's writing this story. And the Rebbe goes to the principal and says, "Gotta throw him out of my class." That's the first thing we do. Throw him out! Gotta throw him out of my class. Disturbing my class, not doing his work, throw him out. So the principal says, all right, let's, what's going on? Jumping jack, jumps out of his seat, jumps to the wall, jumps there, goes to the bathroom. He's a jumping jack. So the principal says, okay, we'll call in the parents. So they call in the parents. And they said, did you ever take him to a therapist? Did you ever take him to a psychiatrist? He jumps in the house too? No. This is the deal. You take him to a psychiatrist, and they give him medicine, we'll take him back to school. Like this, we're not taking him back to school. Okay? Take him to a psychiatrist. He does his ADHD test. 100% has ADHD. By the way, all the parents in this room, all the girls in Mitzvah Shem, you're going to be parents in this room, and all the teachers in this room. I'm a Rebbe for 35 years. I just tell you a secret. There's ADHD, there's ADD, there's PTSD. They got all these letters flying around. And every disease, every mental disease has a bunch of letters. But there's one thing that fixes all of them. Now again, I'm going to get emails. Oh, there's some people that really need medicine. I'm not talking against medicine. I'm just telling you, there's one thing that helps. Okay, we'll say helps fix all of them. Also has a bunch of letters. L-O-V-E. It beats ADHD. It beats PDS. It beats it all. If you give your student love and care and show him that he counts and show her that she counts, half the medicine is already there. Love has a neyudika koyach, has an unbelievable strength. In Shir HaShirim, where the Jewish nation is lost, we're lost. And it says, we're looking for our loved one. We don't, Bikashtiyu v'loy matzasiyu. We're looking for him, and we can't find him. Bikashtiyu also means asking. We're asking questions. Why are people getting sick? Why are people having such a problem with shidduchim? Why are people having a problem with shalom bayis? Why? Do you know why? Because at my grandparents' table was a teeny little apartment on 98th Street. 2 bedrooms and a teeny kitchen and a teeny dining room. And sitting at that table every Shabbos and by the Seder were the derelicts, the poor people who were laying and sleeping on the benches on Broadway. And my grandparents would bring them in to the Seder and every Friday night, and they would urinate. Their pants stunk. The whole place stunk like you walked into the most disgusting bathroom that was never cleaned ever. They had stuff in their pants. They were filthy. And I was a kid, and I was like, and my grandparents sat there, and they fed them, and they took care of them, and I said, like, Oma, I can't say, it smells. She says, I don't smell anything. It's the smell of Gan Eden, my grandfather said. To have a poor person sit at your table whose pants are filthy, who hasn't taken a shower in who knows how long, that smell, that stench that's sitting at your table for Shabbos, that's the smell of Gan Eden. That's what's going to get you into Gan Eden. You sat there. And those are the people that everybody forgets. So I don't take any credit for anything that I've done. And everything that I've done. I was brought up that way. I was brought up that way. That you don't look at a person by the chitzonius. That's just to fool you. That's never who the person is. So this story that I told you last week, this king had that ability. And here she is, walks into this dining room in a gown with her hair done. She's gorgeous. And he says to himself, I knew this when she looked like she was a cake of mud. And he turns to her and he says, I want you to be my queen. And she says, Sire, I'm a peasant, beggar. There's no royal blood. I'm a nothing. I'm a beggar. And he says, it's my choice. I fell in love with you. The first second I saw you laying on the floor in dirt, I fell in love with you. Yes, everyone's giving me a hard time. I'm supposed to marry royal blood. I don't know why. And of course, all the advisors are like, listen, you're Meshuggah or no, you're the king and you can do whatever you want, but you can't marry a peasant girl. You can't do that. She has no royal blood. And that's why in the Haggadah Shel Pesach, the first thing we say is Avadam Hayinu L'Paro B'Mitzrayim. And it doesn't make sense. Here we are sitting there. You're sitting there with your kids, with all the silver out, right? Dressed in your best clothing. It's beautiful. And you start off with, we were slaves, and our parents were Oivdei Avodah Zarah. That should be maybe a little secret in the middle of that Haggadah. By the way, my parents weren't exactly perfect. No! That's how we start. Why? Because there's two ways of becoming a queen. One is, you're from royal blood. Two is, the king marries you. The Queen of England, the King of England is only the King of England because he married her. He has no power, zero. She has all the power. So we say to Hashem, at the Seder, Shecholas Ahava Ani. We say to Hashem, tonight we are sitting as queens. In all this form of Kabbalah, it's a night of Zivug. It's a night where HaKadosh Baruch Hu, thank you. It's a night where HaKadosh Baruch Hu got engaged to Klal Yisrael Pesach night for no reason. He came to Mitzrayim. And the Malachim, I should have brought the Medrash, I should have read it from inside. And the Malachim said to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, don't go to Mitzrayim. It's full of filth and stench and dirt. It's full of the worst. It's full of Baal Pa'ar. I don't want to translate Baal Pa'ar for you. How they serve Baal Pa'ar. And all the other Avodah Zarahs. Mitzrayim was filthy, disgusting. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu said, I am going down to Mitzrayim. And they said, don't go. And Hashem said, Ani, v'loi saraf, v'loi malach. Nobody touches that girl on the side of the road but me. And the Malachim said in the Medrash, it's unbelievable, this is what they said, we'll take Klal Yisrael out of Mitzrayim. You should not be here. And the Medrash says, it's like a Kohen whose Truma is in a Beis HaKfaros, is in a graveyard, and he can't go in there. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu came himself into Mitzrayim, and he himself, like the king, even though we were on the 49th level of Tumah, we were filthy, smelly, lowlifes. We were doing, except for immoral averas between man and woman, we were doing every single avera. We were on the 49th level of Tumah, not the 10th, not the 11th, not the 15th, not the 49th level of Tumah. Everybody had Facebook. Everybody was texting on Shabbos. We were on the 49th level. 49th level out of 50. And Hashem said to the Malachim, I want them as my nation. And there was no logical reason whatsoever. And Shlomo HaMelech said, and I always say Shir Hashem after I finish the Haggadah. Shlomo HaMelech said, so you fell in love with us? Well, guess what, Hashem? If I don't know that you're next to me, if I don't know that you're in my life, I am sick. Like turning around and my child is gone. What a fear. Just tell that to Hashem, he said. Don't tell me we want Mashiach. I don't need Mashiach. And that's a Seder night. Wow, what a Seder night. And I have a lot more. And from that, the Kavayosha says that the table has to be set by a child that was never Tameh. And you have to put out all your silver. And you shouldn't talk. He says you shouldn't even talk a word of English. You should only talk Hebrew. That's what he says. You should talk Lashon HaKodesh. That's how holy that table is. Because HaKadosh Baruch Hu comes with his angels. And he says, look at my Kala. Listen to what she's saying about me. And all the angels listen. And it says they praise Hashem. It's a beautiful Lashon, he says. He says, they praise God and say, what a beautiful bride you have. They're forced to say that because that Seder is such a beautiful Seder. Chas v'shalom. Chas v'shalom, to be sitting by a Seder and making jokes and talking bad about people and not talking about HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And that's why the rabbi stayed up all night. They didn't even know the sun came up because they were so excited to talk about the Chosim. Like any other girl. Everyone that gets engaged that night, they're up till sunrise. They're talking to each other about the engagement, about this. The Chazan Kala till 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. They're very excited about it. That's Leil Shemurim. That's the night of Pesach. But you got to be a matzah. Because there's no room for the other person. There's no room for a relationship. If you're chametz, if you're a big shot. If I'm a big shot, then it's all about me. If it's all about me, I can't have a relationship. As you know, what's the person that gets in between in a relationship? Yourself. Remove yourself, you see the other person. If yourself is in front of you, you can't see her. I can't see her if I'm standing in front of me. So the first thing you got to do is remove yourself. All of a sudden, whoa, you see other people. But when you're a big shot, you're in front of yourself. You don't see anybody. So matzah represents humbleness. Vayikra for Pesach, the small aleph. Aleph is the first letter in the Torah. First letter of the, should be the biggest letter. Big letter, number one, I'm number one. No, small aleph, little teeny aleph. You're able to do that? Wow. There's going to be such a shine coming out of you because that's the extra ink. That's the extra ink. So I start off with this Down syndrome story. So, why do they call it Special Olympics? Because the regular Olympics, competition, I got to win. If I got to step over you, step on you, kick you, I got to do whatever I got to do. Right? It got so bad, I know you don't watch car races, it got so bad that in the Indy 500 about 3 weeks ago, there was a guy that was about to win, and another guy, imagine they're going 240 miles an hour, whatever they're doing, other guy cut him off, knowing that it would cause a crash. His car went over the side, right? Hit people got killed, right? What are you doing? You crazy? You're knocking off a guy at 240 miles an hour? I have to win. I have to win. If it's going to kill people, doesn't matter. I have to win. That's the Olympics. The Olympics is you got to win. And today, that is, and we talk about this in Ornava. We're not corporate. People have come into my offices and said, hey, Wallerstein, you know why you don't have money? You know why you guys are not corporate. You got to run a corporate. What's corporate? Corporate it's called the corporate ladder. How does one climb the corporate ladder? By stepping on the person underneath them. They get to the next step. Everybody's stepping on everybody. That's Greek. The corporate ladder, corporation, that's Greek. I got to get to where I'm going. With all the dead bodies under me, I got to get where I'm going. So the Olympics, that's what the Olympics. So these are called Special Olympics. It's not regular Olympics, because the kids that run are Down syndromes, they're called special children. Now, I believe that they gave them that name because they didn't want to be derogatory. We'd have a name for them. But really they were wrong because they really are special children. So I got a video many, many years ago, and I didn't save it. I should have saved it. I didn't save it. And the video showed the following. It was in the Olympics, I don't know, 8 years ago, and they were having the race where they hand off like a little stick one to the other, relay races. And there was a black woman that was running. She was a fantastic runner. I forgot her name. And when the girl handed her, USA, handed her the thing to carry in the relay race, she started running and she tripped. And she fell on her face. She actually broke her shoulder bone. Now, this is what they sent me. It's like a YouTube type clip, but it wasn't YouTube, right? And they show a video of her falling, laying on the floor in a lot of pain, and they show all the other runners in slow motion just running right by her. And because she was in her lane, they had to wait till all the runners ran by her. And then the red, the Red Cross, whatever you call it, Hatzalah, right? They came with their stretcher and they sort of rolled her on the stretcher and took her off the course. And when she was off the running course, they were working on her. And it fades out. Picture fades out. And the picture opens up at the starting line of the Special Olympics. And there's like 8 Down syndrome kids. And the whole race is maybe from here to that wall. Because they walk very, very slowly. And they have the siren go off, whatever it is, and these 8 Down syndrome kids start to race, start to walk. And like 8 steps into it, the guy in the middle falls flat on his face. And the other kids, the other like 7 kids, he fell. And they took like another 2 steps, and they all turned around. And there he is laying on the floor. Maybe crying a little bit, I don't know, he's just laying on the floor. All 7 kids turn around, go back, pick him up. They all put their hands on each other and they start dancing around. That's it. No one's racing anymore. And there's a thing that goes by. So who's normal? We're normal? We're not normal. We ran over this woman that's laying on the floor. We just pulled her off the track. They stopped racing. Why race? The child fell. Okay. It's not important to win. It's not about winning. So I found this amazing story. I get very excited when I find, not my story, the true story. It's an amazing story. Because this book only has true stories. So I want to read it to you. His head lowered, an exhausted but determined young man chanted over and over to himself. This was by the Special Olympics. You can do this, you can do it, you can do it, you can do it. These words, spoken as much for encouragement as for confirmation, found a listening heart. He was talking to himself. Without fail, they drove one foot in front of the other, up into the air and then down again and again and again. The boy watched intently as one by one his new sneakers methodically slapped the asphalt, slowly passing beneath him. It was a very tired patter, slowly passing beneath him. Looking up, the youth wiped his brow and searched for a glimpse of the finish line. It's somewhere up there, he told himself matter-of-factly. It was far off in the distance. Even so, Dave had his heart set on reaching it. With great effort, he too crossed the finish line. By the time he did, photographers and reporters had already gathered around the young man who had taken first place. Cameras zoomed in and flashed. Microphones stretched forward to absorb the winner's words. These were all Down syndrome kids. With a smile that stretched from ear to ear, Dave jubilantly bounded over and proudly stood next to the winner. He wrapped his arm around the young man, the guy who beat him, his own age, someone he had never met prior to this event. Beaming, Dave patiently waited for the reporter to complete his interview with the victor, as patiently as he could in a moment that held such excitement for him. When at last the reporter turned to the camera to make concluding remarks, Dave instantly stepped forward and thrust out his hand to receive a congratulatory handshake. "Oh boy," Dave shouted, unable to restrain his obvious joy. "I just want to tell you what a thrill this was and how happy I am to have come in third." The reporter had little choice but to respond. It was on television. To the charismatic and enthusiastic athlete wanting his turn of recognition. "Yes, tell us about it," said the reporter, stammered the startled reporter good-naturedly. "Wow," said Dave. "Thank you for asking me to be interviewed. This is just great, just great. Well, I'm just very happy to be here. It's such a great honor, of course. I finished in third place." Third place, huh? Not bad. Not bad, everybody. Third place. He didn't need an answer to his question, and he didn't wait for one. Instead, he turned his animated face for all the world to see, as this was on national television. And with more joy than I can remember from anyone, he said, "Thank you all for sharing in this very special time with me. It's time to celebrate." With that, Dave turned and ran over to line up for hugs and handshakes alongside the winner. Dave was 14 years old at the time. This was the Special Olympics. There were only 3 runners in the entire race. Wow. Wow. A crazy story. I came in 3rd. In our world, loser. You're the loser. 3 guys running, and you came in 3rd. You're the loser. I came in 3rd. Doesn't matter how many people are running. I came in 3rd. I finished the race. They are special. We need to learn from them. They don't have gaiva. They're the matzah. They don't have the gaiva. I think the thing that we need to work on coming into Pesach is, number 1, to understand we as a nation did not earn to leave Mitzrayim. The whole Seder is about leaving Mitzrayim. And we need to know that we were on the 49th level of Tumah. We were filthy, we were dirty, our hair was caked, our clothing was ripped. We were that girl. And the king came and he said, don't just clean her up, she's mine. And he took a mountain and he made a chuppah. Kafalem HaKegiyas. And he took his most precious jewel that he owned, that the Malachim were fighting. You can't take the Torah out of Shemayim and bring it to the world of man. And Hashem said, I fell in love with this nation. The biggest jewel I have, my Torah, I'm giving to them. And the Malachim fought. And when Moshe Rabbeinu came up, they tried to kill him. He held on to the Kisei HaKavod. And that's the celebration of Pesach, girls. Thanking the king, even though I didn't deserve it and I was ugly, you saw through it all and saw my potential and made me yours. And for someone who did that, that loved me so much, if I'm disconnected from you and I can't find you after you fell in love with me like that, I'm sick. It hurts. I'm shaking. I'm turning around and you're not there. Oh my gosh, could you imagine the love that this woman, this peasant, had for that king after what he did for her? Wow. And could you imagine if she turned around and the king wasn't there anymore and she thought she lost him? How scared and how shaken she would be. Pesach night, we're celebrating, and that's why we say, God, we know who we were. We know we were no such beautiful, perfect girl. Avadim hayinu. We were a bunch of slaves. We had nothing. Our forefathers were oivdei avodah zara. We came from nowhere. And you took us out and made us your nation. Dayenu! Enough! You didn't have to take me to Har Sinai, give me the Torah, split the Yam, give me the money of the Egyptians, all that stuff. You recognize who I am? I had a girl once tell me in my high school, Rabbi Wallerstein, I want to thank you for one thing. You're the only person in this world who recognizes who I am. That's it. I bought her clothing. I did so much for this kid. And that's all she thanked me for. Because that's the most important thing in the whole world. Is that someone should recognize who you really are. And when God does that for a whole nation that was on the lowest level, and it says, B'chipazon, he took us out in chipazon means in a rush. And the question is, hello, you're God. You could have given us 3 months advance notice. We wouldn't have this matzah stuff baking on our back. We'd have 7-layer cake. We'd have lachmajin. We'd have food. I mean, come on. Go to the circus this page. I'm not telling you to go to the circus. But I remember when I went to the circus, when they had the circus, Jews, right? Everybody comes to the circus. You have 2 kids and 12 bags of food. Peeled apples, peeled oranges, matzah with tuna, matzah with this, matzah with that. Well, you go to Great Adventure. You see what they're walking in at Great Adventure? They can't even get on the rides because they don't know where to put all their food. Right? We travel heavy, food. I mean, El Al thinks it's the funniest thing in the world. They always say, like, that suitcase weighs 70 pounds. Mr. Wallerstein, what is in that suitcase? It's like lead. And my wife's like, we're sending meat for the kids. And that suitcase has frozen gefilte fish. And they're like, you think there's no food in Israel? Right? But that's what we do. We send our kids food and food and food. So one of the kids said today, it was very cute. I said, when I was in California, I said, like, so why didn't Hashem tell us 3 months in advance? Why all of a sudden, midnight, okay, get ready. But I didn't bake my cake. I don't have my shoes. Get your shoes, get your sticks. Hello? You're God. You know when we're leaving. You know, make reservations 3 months in advance. What's the chipazon? So one of the girls said, are you kidding? If you would have told us 3 months in advance, you would have had like 1,000 wagons of food per family. This way he got us out light, you know? Like JetBlue, 50 pounds, no extra bags, you know? Well, you got to pay for them. It's true. Imagine that we would have known 3 months in advance. We would have had pizza stores opened up along the way. It would have been a falafel shop. It would have been crazy busy. But the question is, what's the chipazon? What's the chipazon? Chipazon was that night Hashem saw that if he leaves us there one more moment, one more day, he's going to lose his beautiful bride. Even though she looks like she's in rags, he didn't want to lose her. So Kosh Baruch Hu said, I got to take them out now. If I leave them here, they hit the 50th level, I lost my girl. I'm not willing to do that. So he came down, he took one look and he said, hurry up, Mekudeshesli, we're getting engaged now. I can't wait. If I wait, I lose her. And he ripped us out of Mitzrayim. He ripped us out of Mitzrayim, and he took us out of Mitzrayim. And this night of Pesach, that is what we're celebrating. It's it's the holiest night of the year, by the way. It's written, it's the holiest by far. It's the only Leil Shemurim. Yom Kippur, there's no Leil Shemurim. Rosh Hashanah, there's no Leil Shemurim. It is by far the holiest night. That night you can daven, and to say to you can change the world. You can change the world on the Seder night. I mean, the Kabbalah, I've just started learning a little bit. The whole Seder, what's going on at your table is the galaxies. The Seder plate is Earth. It's crazy. What's going on at the Seder and the Ruach, the Ruach that's at the Seder, that's HaKadosh Baruch Hu. The whole Ruach that's in the earth, that's in this world, that's at the Seder. And the blood that a person lives by, that's the yayin. And the skeleton that a person's built of, that's the matzah. And the kapas is the vegetation in the world. That Seder plate, that little round plate, has everything. Has the pain a person goes through, and has the charosis that a person goes through. Has the sweetness, has the pain. There's emotion on that plate. There's physical things on that plate. It's crazy. Even the dipping in Kabbalah, the whole thing of the dipping is not normal. That's what you're sitting at Pesach night, and you want, let's go, I'm hungry, it's 11 o'clock, where's the Afikoman? Is that how you would treat a king that pulled you out of your rags and made you his princess? Or would you want to talk to him all night? You definitely would want to talk to him all night. It's a very serious night. But as much good as it can do for you, it can do bad. Because if the chassan comes to the house, and you show him no attention, and you're talking about silly things, and you're in a rush to get out of there, then you're telling the king what I spoke about, then you're a kafui toiv. We could have been another nation living somewhere as slaves and being nobodies. We're the only one that made it. The Greeks are gone, the Romans are gone, the Persians are gone, Babylonians are gone, the Egyptians are gone, they're all gone. They're all gone. We're the only one that made it through it all. Hashem recognized who the real ones are. So our bracha to everybody is that this Pesach, Mitzvah Hashem, the busiest day is Erev Pesach for a Kohen, that it should be real busy next week, Sunday, and that we should be able to see HaKadosh Baruch Hu once again, and we should see Mashiach because Shecholas Ahava Ani, because Hashem, I'm sick in love with you. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu should give us all the refuah shalema. And we should be able to find him and not be sick anymore. Tzlacha. A good